Welcome back to the Follow Project. I'm Pastor Chris Solak. Again, guys, always a thank you to our community for all the likes and subscriptions, comments. They're always appreciated. Helps us spread the gospel and across this platform and beat the algorithm. We do have our newsletter that if you'd like to have more information about what we're doing here at the Follow Project, you can go to thefollowproject.com and you can sign up for that newsletter. As well as we also have our latest release, which was a 30-day devotion on Ephesians, and it has a small group study with videos as well. If you'd like to do that in a corporate setting, and you can go to the followproject.com/books for that as well. So we're continuing to talk about the fear of God, and that is not in this context of terror. It's in the context of awe and wonder and a reverence for the presence of God. And God makes certain promises to those, especially in the Old Testament. And this week and next, we're going to be in Proverbs, talking from this perspective and promise of what God promises those who actually revere him and respect him, not just for what he's capable of, but for actually who he is. That he is this loving, kind, dedicated, passionate being that cares for his creation, loves his creation, nurtured, and has dreams for his creation. That he desires that none should perish, but that all should have everlasting life. And that this is established throughout the Old Testament, as well as, of course, becoming that realization through Messiah in the New Testament. So it's so important for us to take stock of what God desires for us, not just for us to come into this awareness of who he is, but for those of us who take very seriously who he is. And that is to really understand him, to move into some kind of level of spiritual dynamic with God. That we would understand not only his presence, his will, but his heart for all of us, which is incredibly powerful. His love is the most powerful attribute of his nature. And that there is nothing that can come between his creation and his love when his creation is in agreement. And this fear of God, this awe and reverence of God is that level of agreement. So I want to read here out of Proverbs 22, 1-4, it says, "A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the poor have this in common. The Lord made them both. A sensible person sees danger and takes cover, but the inexperienced keep going and are punished. The result of humility is the fear of the Lord, along with wealth, honor, and life." And I want to speak to wealth, honor, and life, that those who honor God are blessed with everlasting life. Those who honor God will be honored because the word is very specific that what we measure out will be measured back. And then it brings up this idea of wealth. And here's the thing. God isn't, his currency is not dollars. His currency is not silver and gold. That's the currency of this environment. His currency is people. And so even though he will bless and prosper those financially, it's with the purpose of going out and pursuing those for the kingdom of God, because people are the currency of heaven. And it's most important that we not lose sight of this. And that's why humility is the key. That humility would place a person in position not only to the awareness of who God is, but to awareness of who they are within God and the plan of God. That he would actually be able to open their life and do the miraculous thing with their existence, and that they would submit to that out of joy, out of a reverential obedience, but that there would be a joy, a love, a passion, a zeal for carrying out the will of heaven within the earth. And due to that, they become incredibly blessed. They become incredibly uh, overwhelmed by the presence of God. And that's to speak to what God can give you when you actually take part in the work with Him. But you have to do that with humility. You have to do that with a level of awareness. And most important, a reverential awe and respect for who God is, not just in His nature, but who He fundamentally is as God. So my point, the fear of God produces humility, spiritual wealth, honor, and life. And it's important for those of us who want to produce something eternal, something who wants to last. So many people talk about leaving a legacy. You can't build or leave, I guess, in the sense, because there's no value in leaving a legacy in a world that's going to burn. And I think this is where we become awfully misguided, where we're trying to build kingdoms that are going to be remembered and stand within the earth. And that's nonsensical if you are a believer in Jesus Christ. Because we're not looking to be remembered in this world, but to be eternally remembered within the true reality, which is within the presence of God. And so this is the thing that we carry forward. This is by this nature, but it starts with his reverential respect for God, what He wants to do, and His plan in which He wants to do it. And that leaves me with the question that, are you focused on this life or are you focused on the next? Because if your value as a Christian is still being centered daily on this reality, you are missing the bigger picture. And you need to talk with God about a greater purpose than accumulating and accumulating wealth and living comfortable here in this fallen reality and biding your time until you move on to the next. But that what would God truly desire for you to do here and now to build the kingdom of heaven, that you would carry the eternal into eternity. Until next time, be blessed.